What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for December 14th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. We're officially in game mode, game week. Eagles play Monday night, but the NFL has a game tonight, even though it's not a very good one. But let's start, as we always do, with a recap of the question of the day. Yesterday, I asked, what was wrong with the Eagles? There was a lot of chatter inside the locker room about the play calling becoming predictable and things like that. I seem to think a lot of it stems from execution, and for really shocking here and completely opposite ends of the spectrum, I think. Majority of you said that it's the play calling that is really hindering and hurting this team. A few people said it was the game plan. Nobody thought it was the execution, which is shocking. I'm going to have to go out on a limb and say I don't disagree with you guys on this one. I think, the play calling could be better. I think the game plan could absolutely be better. I just don't think they're executing, and that's the issue. And more on that, I guess, later in the episode. But thanks, as always, for participating in the question of the day. Be sure to use the text and voice line. We got to come up with a better name for that, so we're working on that. I am open for suggestions, but that number is 267-495-8531, 267-495-8531. Text, call your opinions and thoughts. Tell me I'm an idiot for not thinking that it's the play calling and thinking it's execution. But 267-495-8531 is how you get a hold of us here on the pod. All right, speaking of the pods, new Back to the Future dropped last night. We did a little look at Herb McGee, someone who probably should get a lot more credit and a lot more celebration in Philly than what he does. So be sure to check that out. Back to the Future, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Back to the Future with a PH. Be sure to like and subscribe and all that other good stuff. It all helps the algorithm out. All right, today is our last day for the food and gift drive. Thank you so much for all the donations. I shouldn't say the last day. They will still accept donations and everything tomorrow. I'm running the big pile of food I have over here over to the Maddie Ann Dixon Community Cupboard tomorrow morning. If you still want to give and try to help them out, hit me up offline. I had a couple people Venmo me some money. I reached out to Jamie at Maddie Ann Dixon, and you can donate directly to them. Just let them know. But whatever you need to do, let's help this great organization out, especially through the holiday season. Thanks again for all of your support throughout this, and let's just keep it going. I want to do more things like this and use this platform for good. If you're following along with the reverse Advent calendar, today is our last day of the Advent calendar. I should have said, not the food drive. Our item of the day is box cake or brownie mix. So if you have a box cake mix or brownie mix, send it over. We have quite a few that we're getting over today, but anything you can. And if you really want to help, she did send me something yesterday. They could use box mashed potatoes and more hot chocolate. So whatever you can do to help, just great organization. Help out wherever you can during the holiday season. Speaking of helping out, for our 25 days of kindness, the act of kindness today is do something nice for your neighbor, whether it's raking their leaves, helping them take their trash out. And I'm only saying that because our leaves, our final day for the township to collect leaves was this week. But today's trash day. Take your neighbor's trash out. Ask them if they're doing okay. Just something. As if you're going to the store, ask them, especially if they're a little bit older, but just do something nice for your neighbors. And that is something, to me, that's very easy to do. And that is our act of kindness. Talk to your neighbor. Hey, do you want to have a beer? Whatever you can, but do something nice for your neighbor. That is today's act of kindness. Don't forget, call on that text and voice line and really help me find a name for it. Like, it's right now, it's long. It's this day in Philly sports history and Back to the Future voice and text line. I need something catchy, something good. Open to suggestions on that. But 267-495-8531 is how you get in. And leave a message. Tell me what we should call it. All right, Sixers action. good win last night, 129 to 111. Yes, the Pistons are the worst team in the league. But, I mean, they came out and did what they had to do. Joe came out and had 38 points at halftime, and then had 41 for the rest of the game, and then sat out most of the fourth quarter. And the fact that he was able to score 30 points in the first quarter, or first half, is what he should have done. Tobias had 21. Kelly Oubre played well. Maxey struggled a little bit, but you'll have this, and I like the fact that this team has guys that'll pick him up if he's not playing well. Same they do if Joe's a little off. But a couple things about that. Joe, I think he's playing at a higher level, and I said this the other day, and he's just continued to play well. He's playing at a much higher level this year than he did last year when he won the MVP. And I think, again, the pressure of not having to worry about the MVP, he finally won it. Now he can focus on winning a championship. I think is going to do well for his psyche. He's playing, like, I feel like a couple of the injuries he's had when he twisted his knee and things, I feel like those are games that he likely would have missed in the past. So I like what we're seeing here, and not to pile on Doc Rivers, and I know we need to move on, but this is the game in Doc Rivers' tenure that they would have struggled to win and possibly even have lost. A horrible team that they should have dominated the way they did, and he would have found a way for them. And they even mentioned it something. I was half listening because I was editing things for Back to the Future, but they were saying on the broadcast that there were times where, all right, they clear the bench out, all the starters are resting, and with Doc Rivers, there were times where he had to put some of the starters back in because the bench wasn't able to do it. And the bench is better, but some of it was Doc's rotations. And I just feel like this is a game that during Doc Rivers' era, they would have found a way to make it a lot closer than what it had to been. So I should have bet the minus 11.5 like I thought about before. Oh, well. Flyers in action tonight against the Capitals back home after that road trip where they went 2-1. Looking to see some continued. I think to me, like, the fact that they're still in the playoff race right now is good. Obviously, I mean, especially for a young team, but I keep saying this, you just want this team to gain experience and learn how to win and have like that positive energy in the building, that positive culture, and that's what we've had so far. So they're in action tonight against the Capitals. All right, back to the Eagles now. And listen, I'm going to have to say I disagree with you. I think it's execution. I think if you, like, looking back at that Cowboys game, that game was much closer, I think, than what – well, I shouldn't say. They got blown out. But I think it could have been much closer without those turnovers. Like, they were driving on – I don't know. They're shooting themselves in the foot. Now, that has been their MO all year, and now that they're playing good teams, it's harder to overcome them. And I also think, too, like, you had the phantom holding penalty that was a hold, but they threw the flag, and then they said, no, just kidding. I think that changed a lot of the momentum in that game as well, especially after you're kind of reeling a little bit, and then all of a sudden you make a big play, and then they're like, no, just kidding. And all of a sudden you're like, here we go again. And then we've talked a lot about how negativity snowballs, same with positivity, but I think that's what's going on with the Eagles. They need to find a way to stop this snowball from coming, and I think that comes down to execution. Yes, the game plan and play calling helps with that, but I felt the offensive game plan that they had wasn't terrible because they were driving and moving the ball. Should they have run the ball more? Yeah. Do they need to give the ball to Swift more? Yeah. But I think if you're executing the plays, it doesn't matter how predictable it is. But they can clinch a playoff spot with a win on Monday night, which is good. And I think that would be one checkbox taken off and help alleviate some of the pressure that's on this team. I'm starting to feel better about the game, though, because then they had drop passes, too. I'm getting better. And I think that the turnovers on offense and the drop passes also negatively impacted the defense, which isn't playing well at all. And I think when you're not doing your defense any favors, it's kind of like, and again, that negativity breeds. And I mean, they're the worst team on third down in the league. And I think that stems from not being able to get a consistent pass rush. I think if you think back to even last year to a certain point, but I keep going back to that 2017 Super Bowl team, they were not that good on defense. They were lucky because a lot of times they were playing with a lead, and then they had a pass rush and they were able to do it. In that game in the Super Bowl against New England, they didn't play that well on defense. Tom Brady carved them up. Luckily, Nick Foles in the offense kept pace with Tom Brady. So I think and they didn't get a pass rush and that Super Bowl. And look what happened when they finally got the pass rush. That's when you got the strip sack and they ended up winning the game. That's what it comes down to. And I don't know why they're not. And people are like, oh, they're old. But I think they have a good mix of young and old guys in there. And Fletcher's been playing well. Brandon could play a little bit better. Maybe he has lost a step. I don't know. But I think they have enough rotation in there. They're just not. And I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. And hopefully this is a get-right game. Still don't know if Geno Smith is going to play or not. But I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit better with the situation. Because the other thing to keep in mind is Dallas had a stretch where they played poorly this year. Where people are like, oh, God, here we go, Dallas being Dallas. Now they have the gauntlet part of their schedule coming up. San Francisco lost 3 straight games at one point, and look how they've responded back. That's what I need to see from this Eagles team. I need to see the response, like where Dallas and San Francisco responded. I need the Eagles now to respond. So not ready to make a prediction or anything. It's still too early. I know it's Thursday, but still without even knowing if Geno Smith is going to play and what's happening there. But they need to get it right. And that, to me, that's the key. Like, they need to get it right. And how are they going to get it right? What do they need to do? So I'm going to turn it over to you. That is our question of the day. You guys said it's play calling. So how do they fix the play calling? So how do the Eagles get it right? How do they save the season? And that's your question of the day. Let me know. Comment wherever you're listening or watching this. Hit me up on my social media, Twitter and TikTok, Jimbo_Mont, Instagram @PhillyJimbo. Call the text line, 267-495-8531. 267-495-8531. Call or text me. Let me know, how are the Eagles going to save their season? If it's play calling, how do they save the season? And just let me know. 267-495-8531. Let me know. Hit me up. How are the Eagles going to save this season? That is our question of the day. You know what you don't need to question? PhillyGoat.com. I got my ugly Christmas sweater, and it's a sweatshirt material, so it's not hot. So when you go to Christmas dinner or the holiday party, you know how people are around, it gets hot, fire's going, you have a couple drinks, you start in a sweater, you start getting a little hot and toasty. No, it's a light sweatshirt material that fits like a sweater. It's amazing. 100% amazing. Cannot wait to wear this thing. I got the one with the Kelly Green eagle leg that says "Go Birds" on it, like the lamp in A Christmas Story. Phenomenal. And I know it's too late for you guys to get them for this year for the holidays, but buy one and buy one and keep it in the closet for next year, or whatever you need to do. But just go check them out. The stuff they have on that site is amazing. I've been talking about them for almost a year now, and they're the stuff they have is phenomenal. I bought stuff from them before I even worked with them. Now that I work with them, I mean, my son loved wearing his Mega John hoodie the other day to school. So go to PhillyGoat.com, use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Treat yourself this holiday season to something. You've been out shopping for everybody, grandmom, the dog, the kids, your parents. Go treat yourself now. Go to PhillyGoat.com, buy yourself a hoodie. You won't be disappointed. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery at checkout for 10% off of your order. Help me out, help them out. More importantly, help yourself out. All right, today we're going to go back to 1994. And on this day in 1994, the Phillies signed free agent infielder Gregg Jefferies to a 4-year, $20 million contract, and then quickly moved him to the outfield. Now, that 4-year, $20 million contract came when technically, I guess everybody was still... I'm not really sure how that offseason worked, because the strike, I believe, was still going on because it didn't end until spring training in '95, I thought, but I'll have to look into that. But that was the largest contract in team history for the Phillies. And I mean, Gregg Jefferies was a solid player. He was coming off of 2 All-Star game appearances. And I think a lot of people consider this to be one of the Phillies' biggest free agent busts. But looking at the numbers, I'm not so sure he's a bust as much as he was just the expectations were too high for him, maybe. He was never really a power hitter. And I think moving into the outfield and the guys, this was right at the beginning of the steroid era. So, like, the other guys that were in the outfield that were hitting those power numbers, Jeffries just wasn't there. But, I mean, in his 3.5 seasons in Philly, he hit 287, 37 homers, 203 RBI. And he played on some shitty teams. And again, I don't necessarily think he was coming up. He was an all-star player in St. Louis. Came out highly touted, and I don't know why I remember this, but his baseball card, when I collected baseball cards, a Gregg Jefferies rookie was like one of those hot commodity cards that everybody wanted, the rated rookies and the tops with the little gold cup on it. But he just played on some bad teams. I don't know if he was the kind of guy you build a team around. However, when you're the Phillies and you're not used to giving out big contracts like that, and you're going into this new era of Major League Baseball, you give a guy your biggest contract in team history, you're expecting more than 287 and 37 home runs. This is purely speculation, but I wonder, and again, those teams were bad, but this is when Scott Rowland started to come in and called them out for not being willing to spend. And I wonder if some of the unwillingness to spend money stemmed from this contract and the fact that he didn't live up to the hype. I know everybody, we're a small market team, this, that, and the other. But I just something to kind of think about. You can send me a text or call me on that as well. 267-495-8531 is the number. But maybe this was the reason they did not play well or didn't pay well for free agents. Something to think about because, I mean, he was solid. And, I mean, at the time, though, the biggest contract in team history, you kind of expect it more. I don't know. I mean, he hit higher than a lot of the guys that are Philly legends. I mean, 287 is higher than Ryan Howard. I believe it's close. It might be higher than Jimmy Rollins. So, like, from an average standpoint, he was okay. He just didn't have the power numbers, but I don't know if that was ever his game. His best moment did come, though, in 1995 in August when he hit for the cycle at Veterans Stadium. Only the 7th time a Philly player has done that. It's only happened twice since then. But on this day in 1994, the Phillies signed Gregg Jefferies to a 4-year, $20 million contract. Widely considered a bust by many people when they're looking at the biggest free agent bust in Phillies history. I think I've even called him a bust. But if you really look and break down the numbers, it's not so much a bust as maybe heightened expectations that were unrealistic for Gregg Jefferies. But let me know what you think about Gregg Jefferies as well. All right, finally, our Philly Sports Advent Calendar gift of the day. We open up the door, and it is the LaSalle Explorers men's basketball team from 2012-2013. They were coached by Dr. John Giannini. They went 24-10, 11-5 in the A-10, where they lost in the quarterfinals of that tournament to Butler, placing them squarely on the bubble for the NCAA tournament. All they needed to do was probably win one more game, and they would have been a shoo-in. Instead, they were in a bubble team. They did hear their name called, an at-large bid. It was their first in 21 years. They got the 13th seed in the West, but had to play in Dayton in the play-in game, where they beat Boise State to advance to the Big Dance. In their first round game as a 13th seed, they beat number 4 Kansas State 63-61. They had a great second half. They battled back and hit a few free throws down the stretch to seal the deal against Kansas State. And then they played the 12 seed, who it was a 13-12 seed, one of the rare times, I guess it happens. It's happened more recently. But they beat Ole Miss 76-74 when Tyrone Garland hit the Southwest Philly floater to win the game with 2.5 seconds left, and a legend was born. Remember the interview with Tyrone Garland when he represented Southwest Philly? They asked him what that shot was called, and he was like, it was the Southwest Philly floater. Southwest shouted out his mom, all his guys from the neighborhood, just his brother. Like, it was a very cool thing, and like, he was a legend. A star was born. Everybody was doing this. I remember I was teaching at the time, and all the kids like that I was teaching, I was one of the assistant basketball coaches. They all wanted to do the Southwest Philly floater. It was pretty cool to see. They did lose in the Sweet 16 to the 9th seed Wichita State. It was the first time that the LaSalle Explorers had been to the Sweet 16 since 1955 when they were the runner-up. We talked about the 54 team a couple days ago. But the guys on that team, Ramon Galloway was the top scorer, top guy, averaged 17 points a game. But Tyreek Duran was good. We talked about Tyrone Garland, like the Southwest Philly floater, man. Like I just remember how hyped up the kids were when I was teaching them. Jarrell Wright hit those free throws against Kansas State. Just a fun time. And usually this is where I started to turn off my non-Temple teams for basketball in the city. It was just a fun time to get behind the Explorers in that tournament and just watch them go to the Sweet 16, and they were having a ton of fun. And I think that's one of my favorite things about the NCAA tournament is just seeing these kids go out there and have a ton of fun. But today's Philly Sports Advent Calendar gift is the 2012-2013 LaSalle Explorers team that went to the Sweet 16 by way of the Southwest Philly floater by Tyrone Garland to beat Ole Miss in the second round. What a fun game. What a fun time. What a fun team. That is today's Philly Sports Advent Calendar gift of the day. All right, on this day back in 1994, Philly signed Gregg Jefferies to a free agent contract, 4 years, $20 million. Widely considered a bust, but was it? Let me know what you think about that. Don't forget our question of the day. How do the Eagles save their season? If it is coaching and game planning, tell me how do they fix that. Call or text 267-495-8531. Let me know. It's as simple as send in a text message, man. Just send it. Let me know, and I can read your response on the air. Eagles can clinch a playoff spot through it all. And I think we got to kind of reset ourselves and refocus on what's important. But more on that as the weekend progresses. Good win for the Sixers. Good luck to the Flyers tonight. Don't forget to get your donations in for the Matty N. Dixon Community Cupboard. Time is running out. Thank you so much for your support in that. Be sure to check out the Back to the Future on Herb McGee. Kind of a bonus advent calendar gift for you guys this holiday season. Go have yourselves a Thursday. It's supposed to be a rainy weekend, so get out. Do something fun today. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.